The South African National Defence Force announcing a short while ago that all the remaining wounded soldiers who have been hurt in the DRC have now been successfully repatriated to South Africa. In fact, we understand that some of them are receiving the necessary medical care and support. This, of course, comes just a few days after we heard that 3 critically injured soldiers had been received in the country and are now being treated at one military hospital in Tshwane. Let's make sense of this development. Once again, bring in our international news editor, Sophie Mokoena, joining us now via our video link. An important development, this, Sophie, of heightened tension in the Great Lakes region.
Yes, you are correct, Ayanda. Now we can confirm that all those who were supposed to be evacuated from the eastern part of the DRC are now in the country. You know that the process started with the evacuation from Goma, then they traveled to the border between DRC and Rwanda and straight to Kigali Airport. From Kigali Airport, we know that the 4 were airlifted with a smaller plane because they were seriously injured or critical condition, and therefore they had to be quickly airlifted. And then yesterday in the afternoon, a bigger plane brought another group, including those who are injured and those who are not necessarily injured, but they need medical attention or support system. As you know that being in a war zone, some people might not be able to cope, the system or the psychological trauma. And today, now early hours of this morning, the last group arrived today, and the group includes those who are injured, who might be admitted at the hospital for observation and perhaps to get special care, those who will be out or outpatients, and you also have those that need just the psychological assistance because of the impact in terms of the situation that they did find themselves in during that conflict. And therefore you have a number of different groups and different categories. That would include even the medical way assisting these soldiers, and therefore it's a broader group. And now we know that everybody now is back in the country, almost 130 in total, or those including the first 3 or 4 who arrived who were critically injured, the group yesterday and the group today. So that mission to evacuate those who were supposed to be evacuated now completed, but you still have men and women who are still in Goma, who are still in the military base there, but we are not so sure or clear in terms of what's going to happen to them, because now the entire area is under the control of AFC. That AFC is a group that includes M23 rebels, because it's not only M23 rebels, it's a group, it's a smaller group also now that have formed a bigger group, AFC. And therefore, they are in control, and our troops are still at the base, confined in the base. They do get necessary attention in terms of their needs like food, water, and this has to be provided by MONUSCO, but communicating with those who are now in charge of that area. And the rebels are advancing, conflict is continuing, and there are fears that this can really lead to a full-scale war in the Great Lakes region if not managed properly. Because now with the MONUSCO and the Summit DRC confined in barracks, you have now the DRC soldiers who are on their own, and we had rumors that the president of the DRC, Felix Tshisekedi, is now inviting other countries to help him to fight these groups. And therefore, it's not clear whether those countries, particularly in the Western Africa, will respond by sending troops. Because remember, West Africa on its own the Horn of Africa is very, very unstable. We saw the coups there. So it's not clear whether countries such as Chad will respond to that request. And also, it looks like it's getting a bit tricky for DRC and Burundi, because Burundi sent lots of men and women on the ground to assist the DRC troops, but it looks like many have now retreated. And also in relation to the DRC forces, some of them, not all of them, have decided to join the movement, and therefore that eastern part of the DRC now a very controlled area by different groups that are now under the umbrella of AFC.
We know that the ICC's chief prosecutor Karim Khan is currently in the country. He is anticipated to meet with the president of the DRC in Felix Tshisekedi. This comes a few days after the Security Council called for a ceasefire. How much of a sway on the situation do you reckon Karim Khan's visit is going to have?
Not at all, not at all. You know, the rebel movement with different forces have now advanced, and they've captured the entire eastern part of the DRC. They are not going to retreat unless something massive happens. And the issue of the prosecutor being there, it's not the first time individuals in the DRC appear before the International Criminal Court. We know that even the former vice president was once before the International Criminal Court. And therefore, I don't think it's going to be a deterrent in terms of those who are fighting the rebel group and movement under that umbrella of AFC. And remember, with the International Criminal Court, you have to get information, you have to go and get evidence. You must access the site or the area to get evidence, and then charge individuals, not groups. And therefore, it is going to take a long time. But yes, he is in the country, in the DRC. He pointed out that Congolese deserve support, but also they deserve for accountability, and therefore this is what he's trying to do. But we know it's not the first time individuals in the DRC are brought before the International Criminal Court, and I can assure you, with these groups, they are just now too many. I can't see his presence in the DRC being a deterrent. I think the best option is the option put forward by SADC and EAC to appoint senior citizens on the continent to push all stakeholders to agree to a peace process and a ceasefire. That's the only way you can stop that problem there. The presence of the International Criminal Court chief prosecutor, it's not going to be a deterrent. We saw that he went to the Middle East. The war continued even when he was there and after he left. He went to Ukraine. The war is still raging on, even issuing warrants of arrest against President Vladimir Putin and the others. The same with Israel, issuing a warrant of arrest against the Prime Minister of Israel, some Hamas leaders who have since been killed, and also the former Defense Minister of Israel. But it didn't stop the conflict, and therefore I can't see his visit doing that in the eastern part of the DRC. I think the most dangerous thing in the eastern part of the DRC, it's now spreading into the entire Great Lakes region. It will engulf the Great Lakes region into a conflict, because neighboring countries now are also saying we have to protect our borders. And therefore, it is becoming very, very dangerous. The best option, neither the sanctions or isolation of individuals will help. Only the peace process, as suggested by the UN, as suggested by SADC, as suggested by EAC, bringing these parties together and let them agree to ceasefire.
Sure. brings into question once again the power of multilateralism if figures from these important institutions don't seem to be making any difference in calming these troubled waters, so to speak. Sophie Mokoena, thanks very much indeed, as always,